Hello, welcome or welcome back. Today I am doing another Neville Says from Neville Goddard's lecture series volume 1, and this is on moving your state of consciousness to another state of consciousness. It is all within your hands, and this quote's going to show you exactly how, so stick around. I'm Hedley Dorenzi and I'm a qualified life coach and author. I'm also super passionate about the amazing teachings of the Law of Assumption as originally taught by the great American mystic Neville Goddard. It is the stories we tell that create our life. So if you want to change your life, then you have to change the story. And if you want to create the most amazing life, then you need to know how to tell the most amazing stories. And that is where these teachings can help. Since rediscovering them myself, I'm now telling myself much better stories, and I want to help you to do the same. If you would like help with this, I am available for coaching. I also have a 21-day Set Yourself Up with the Ultimate Self-Concept course, or if you just want to stay connected, I am on Instagram. All of those details are below. Okay, let's get into it. So the quote I'm talking about today is from Neville Goddard's lecture series, volume 1, and this is his second lecture, called A Movement with God, and I am just going to get straight into it. So the quote is, "Every conceivable situation that you could ever think of exists now as a fact in God, but cannot be made visible to you until you occupy it. For you are God's operant power. Everything in this world needs man as the agent to express it. Hate or love, joy or sorrow, all things require man to express it. Everyone is free to choose the state he wishes to occupy. You imagined yourself into your present state. If you don't like it, you must imagine yourself out of it and into another. It's all a matter of movement." Okay, we are going to break this quote down bit by bit so you have a full understanding of what this means and how to apply it. And I'm also going to give you the original definitions of some of these words that have been taken out of context and been diluted so that you can return to their original meaning, which will point you back in the right direction of where you've got to go. Keep in mind, all of these words, all of these quotes are not the answer. Nothing that Neville says or I say or anyone says is the answer. Words only point you in the direction of where you have to go to find the answer for yourself. And the answer is always within you. These words just point you in that direction. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to reread this quote using the word imagination. So taking the word God out and replacing it with imagination. So every conceivable situation that you could ever think of exists now as a fact in imagination, but cannot be made visible to you until you occupy it. For you are imagination's operant power. Everything in this world needs man as the agent to express it. Hate or love, joy or sorrow, all things require man to express it. God is imagination, imagination is God, you are imagination. Everything is imagination, and reality is just the reflection of imagination. If you can follow that. Remind yourself constantly that imagination is everything and everything is a reflection of imagination, and you'll be right. Like, just keep reminding yourself of that, because it takes quite a lot of reminding, because we've been so conditioned to believe that reality is what's real and that we are just pawns in this game of cat and mouse where we're kind of trying to run after reality and change it and manipulate it and get it to give us what we want without actually going within and changing the state of consciousness at the cause of what it is that we're experiencing in reality. So your imagination is infinite. You can imagine absolutely anything in your imagination, and the reason that it is fact in imagination is because you're creating events and situations and circumstances in your imagination. You're playing out those facts, which are just events and circumstances. You're playing those out in your imagination. Now, to make those fact in physical world is then to assume and to occupy. And to what does occupy mean? Let's look up exactly what occupy means. Occupy comes from mid-14th century occupian, to take possession of and retain or keep. So what you do when you occupy something is you take something in your imagination and you possess it. You become possessed by it. You take it up in yourself and you retain it and you keep it. It also means to take up space or room or time. Latin occupare, to take over, to seize, to take into possession, to possess, to occupy. So it basically means to take possession of that imagined state and to be possessed by it, to be taken over by it. So allow that state to become real in your consciousness, to hold it, to retain it, to keep it, knowing that what you persist with, the assumption that you persist with in your consciousness, has to harden into fact, meaning it has to harden into an external event or circumstance. Your imagination is infinite. You can imagine any fact into being simply by occupying it in your imagination, taking possession of it, because you are your imagination's operant power. So you have this infinite power being your imagination that is the cause of your reality, but how you use it is entirely up to you. That's what you have complete free will over. You are the operant power of your imagination. You will direct your imagination of where to go, meaning you will cause your reality to express itself depending on where you direct your imagination, based on the thoughts that you're thinking, the stories you're telling, the things that you're choosing to focus on, which is why you have to be spending time every day creating new realities in your imagination that you want to experience. Otherwise, your imagination is going to be informed by the images from reality, which are old. It's old news. They're old facts because they're created from old imaginings. So if you're letting reality inform your imagination, you're just allowing yourself to live in a cycle of old news. Like, just, that's the rat race. That's the, the same old, same old. To create a new reality means you have to start by creating new realities in your imagination and occupy them, become possessed by them, allow them to take you over to the point where they are more real than your external reality, knowing that an assumption, though false, if persisted in, will harden into fact, will harden into an external event. You are your imagination's operant power, and you want to be using it as consciously and wisely and effectively as you possibly can, which means paying attention to it, creating the new realities, imagining the new images and the circumstances that you want to experience, playing the scenes out, and then knowing that that is what is the cause of your reality, and that if you persist with it, if you stick with it, if you have faith in it, if you trust it, if you know it, it has to be expressed, as in pushed out and reflected back, because that is how this works. That is the law. That's just the way it goes. Everyone is free to choose the state he wishes to occupy. You imagined yourself into your present state. If you don't like it, you must imagine yourself out of it and into another. It's all a matter of movement. This is where we start to practice moving. So you can practice moving from state to state to state. Let's say you're in a shitty state, you're feeling, let's say, low or depressed or sad or anxious or whatever it is. You are not a victim to your state. You are your imagination's operant power. And by focusing on whatever it is you're focusing that's creating that state, you're going to get more of that state. If you want to change the state, it is up to you to direct your imagination to something else that is going to create a different state. You have absolute free will as to how you use your imagination, and you can create states of heaven or states of hell. It is entirely up to your hands. You have no free will, however, over the fact that you are your imagination's operant power. You have no free will over the fact that you are God. You are God. You will always be God. You have always been God, and you will return to knowing that you are God. You're not a victim to any state. So if you find yourself in a state, just remind yourself of who you know yourself to be, which is imagination, which is God, and that you are the operant power, and that in any moment you can shift by shifting your focus onto something else that will create a different state. And that may mean making something up. Keeping in mind that your imagination is real and reality is the reflection of real. So don't discount your imagination as just a bit of bullshit or just some airy-fairy, fluffy waste of time. It is anything but. I mean, it's your power. It's who you are. You're all imagination. We are all imagination. And we want to be using it far more consciously and effectively than we already are. And if you find yourself in a state that you don't like, that is unfavorable, employ your imagination, do what you need to do to create another state, the state that you want, by making up a scene that implies you have that new state. So let's take wealth, for example. Let's say you're in debt at the moment and you want to be wealthy. You will not get to wealth. You cannot get into a state of wealth by focusing on debt, by focusing on feeling poor. What you want to do is go into your imagination and create a scene, or do whatever you need to do. Imagine a conversation that you're having with a friend. Like, use your imagination in whatever way you need to use to create the sense, the feeling, the state that you are now wealthy and you have all of your needs met and you have all the money that you could possibly ever want in the world. Like, imagine that you just won the lottery, and keep on imagining it until that is more real than the reality of debt that you're experiencing. So you have to become possessed. You have to occupy that state of wealth. You want to be focusing on wealth in your imagination, doing whatever you need to do to get into that state, to imagine yourself already having the money that you desire, already being in that state of abundance and prosperity, and then holding that in your consciousness. Occupy that state, become possessed by it, allow it to take you over, knowing that it is your imagination that causes your reality. And when you have When you have occupied that state in consciousness, it has to be expressed. It will be pushed out and reflected back in reality, and you'll be like, holy shit, I really am the god of my reality. This is insane. This is amazing. And then you'll just want to do this more and more and more, and it'll create confidence and it'll create commitment. Certainly in the beginning, when we're getting used to this, when we're reconditioning our minds to the way things truly are, we're building our muscles. It can take a little time, it can take commitment, and it can take faith. A lot more faith. But as you start to build this muscle and you can build the confidence knowing that this is the way things are, it will get easier and easier, and you'll be able to move from state to state and shift yourself out of a shitty state into a really great state very easily and very quickly with just the quick engagement of your imagination. Please remember, you are the creators of your reality. You are the superstar of your show. You are the producer, the writer, the director, and the actor in your movie. What you assume to be true will be so. So assume the best for you and assume the best for everyone in your movie too, and you will have an amazing life. This is my wish for you. Thank you for listening. If you've enjoyed this video, please feel free to like, comment, and share with family and friends. If you would like to subscribe to my channel, I would love to have you. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next time. Bye.